All right, just about ready. Good to go.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Rick. Well, I am ecstatic to introduce Nicson as our speaker for Tech Talks today. He is a model of fortitude and perseverance, and I'm so excited to hear his story, and mostly because it's such an interesting story of how he got to Microsoft, but also as a member of our community and just giving back to our community. So we really appreciate that, Nicson, and we look forward to any of you that are maybe already graduates that you will come back and speak at our Tech Talks as well. So Nicson, after graduating from the Tech Academy in the Software Development Bootcamp, he earned his first job at Integra Touch and Sirius XM. I probably butchered that. How do you pronounce that? But then within 6 months of graduation, he earned a position at Microsoft's LEAP apprenticeship program, which then led to a full-time position within just a few months. And he's been with Microsoft full-time for 7 months now. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing your journey. And I know I have tons of questions. We're going to save those for the end because Nicson's graciously saving some time for some Q&A for us. So make sure that you're writing down those questions. So if it pops into your head, you're ready to ask them. We did do a little survey in the comments. Let's make sure before I turn the time over. What did people say? Okay, so it looks like for the people that have responded, Nicson, they're really just excited to hear your story. So we really appreciate you sharing that with us. And I'll go ahead and turn the time over to you now. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Well, let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, screen one. You guys see that slide?
We can, yep.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So let me reintroduce myself. My name is Nicson Martinez, and thank you to the Tech Academy for inviting me to do this talk. And I will be presenting my journey as an immigrant and how I became a full-time employee at Microsoft as a software engineer. Why this title? So I chose this title because sometimes as immigrants, we feel like we are incapable of achieving big things in a new country. Some of the topics that I'll be covering is like my life as an immigrant. What are things that make us feel like we don't belong? How did I become a Microsoft LEAP apprentice? How can we believe in ourselves more? And then we'll finish up with a Q&A with tips on how to approach entering the tech field. So the purpose of this presentation is, I want to inspire others, in the same way that others inspired me into believing in myself. Next, I will be talking about different events in my life that made me feel maybe not believe in myself, and or also that didn't make me feel like, I'm sorry. I'm going to talk about technically all the difficulties that I went through and how I overcame them. So I was born in Honduras, Tegucigalpa. That is in Central America. As you guys can see in the pictures, kind of like, third world, as they would call, living conditions. And there on the left side, that's me, the smaller kid. That's my older brother. Here is a picture of my family in Honduras. just so you guys kind of get a bit of a feel of how different it is from the United States. I don't know if it does, but there they are. And here in Honduras, there is a culture called Garifuna. And because I'm part of this culture, unfortunately, I experienced racism. When I was in third grade, I wasn't allowed to play my favorite sport because I looked different. So here is a story that I like to share. One day I was in recess, right? And I asked a kid if I could play soccer. And he proceeded to blow his nose into his hands and spray it on my face. I hope people don't do that in COVID. And I simply ran away, like crying, and I decided to never play the game again, like not playing soccer again. And I think I was in third grade around that time. And just because I look different, like the kids over there are Mayan culture or Indian culture, and their skin looks different, and just because of that, they treat others differently, right? Um, People don't expect this kind of thing happening in Latin American countries, but it does, unfortunately. Things like these experiences made me feel like I did not belong, and that kind of carried out throughout my life. So I migrated to the United States and moved to New York City, Bronx, when I was like 10 years old. Everything was new. I didn't know a word in English. Spanish is my primary language. Coming to the United States brought a lot of opportunities. In middle school, I joined a Lego robotics team, and I was heavily involved in extracurricular activities. And even though I was involved and I had a lot of friends and things like that, I was reminded that I didn't belong because I experienced bullying. I got bullied by other kids. They made fun of me because I didn't know how to speak English. Kids in school made bilingual students feel like bilingual students and special ed students feel like they were in a lower category than the rest, and all that kind of thing. And I do think that those little things, do impact us in the long run. Again, I didn't feel like I belonged, and that's something that kept coming, that kept getting carried out through my life. So I graduated middle school. Now I'm in high school, and I attended Bronx High School of Computers and Technology. I began to open up a little bit more since my English was better at that time. And in high school, I got, again, more involved in extracurricular activities, continued with first robotics, which is kind of like the bigger robots, as you guys can see on that picture on the right side. And also continued to dance hip hop, and got involved with music, and finally got a chance to play my favorite sport. So in the United States, I was very happy that I was able to do something that I felt like I wasn't very open to do in my own country. And I started to feel, I began to feel more accepted. These are things that, like, I think in my mind as they happened, but they never really talked about them. And now I'm reflecting. Now, so living in the Bronx, right? it was normal to have low expectations because the dropout rates are very high. There's a lot of school violence, neighborhood violence, gangs. I believe there was like a shootout in high school, but I believe that day I was sick that day, so I didn't experience all of that. But a lot of things happen in inner city schools, and that actually this encouraged you to dream and to dream big. Um, Even though I started getting used to the country, things still didn't feel right. And now I'd like to transition to a story about my high school trip to Microsoft. We actually had a trip going to Microsoft, and remember meeting a Microsoft employee who was from the Bronx, just like me. I literally could not believe my eyes. Like what I was seeing was true. Like somebody from a minority group, right, who is from the Bronx, who looks like me, is working at one of the largest companies in the world. And to me, that's like foreign. That's like that doesn't happen. So I was just shocked to see somebody that's coming from my neighborhood there. Um, and I really told myself around that time, wow, I want to be like him when I grow up. And there I felt like, wow, maybe I am capable. Who knows? So fast forward, I graduate high school, starting college, and I feel like college it was a place where I found myself. Uh, I founded a hip hop dance club team. Fun fact: I know a backup dancer, the backup dancer for Beyonce. Uh, on the left side, right there, that's us before her dreams came true. Right? She's now a huge dancer and a quite famous dancer. Uh, and yeah, and on the right side is my teammates from the hip hop dance club where I learned many things. We went on and I was heavily involved in dancing and creating dance teams. We won many trophies. Here are some of those pictures. And even after having so much success in extracurricular activities and me being my positive self, uh, I'd like to tell a small story about how just being myself, what my mentality was around that time. In college, I went to a predominantly white school, and I was the only person of color in most classes. There was a time I passed a test and my grade was the highest in the class. And instead of feeling proud of myself, I felt confused because I didn't think I could possibly do better than somebody else with a lighter skin complexion. I don't know why I had that attitude, but that's just how I thought then. And looking back at this now, it tells me what my mentality was at that time. Despite the successes of the competitions in college and all of the extracurricular activities that I've been in, I still had doubts about my own ability, even when I was excelling. All in all, graduated from college in 2015, and right after, I got my first offer right straight out of college, and I thought I made it. It was a 2-year contract. They paid for everything, but it was fast paced, and it felt like, and it really felt like a sink or swim type of place. I was learning HTML, Bootstrap, Java, GitLab, SQL, Oracle database, and a bunch of stuff. However, I got kicked out. I got kicked out of it within literally the first 2 weeks of being there, because they didn't think that I can keep up with the. Because I actually couldn't. I couldn't keep up with their demands and the level of expertise that they needed. So graduating from college, it was a low point in my life. I continued to apply for jobs in the tech field and didn't land anything for like 7 months. Just continuing, just hearing no, 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 no. And it came to a time where I just needed to pay the bills. And technically, getting rejected for so long by so many jobs and not doing well in interviews, and all these setbacks really make me feel like I belong. And that same mind state that has been carried out through my life came back again. So I started working for the Children's Village. This is a place where children literally live, and they all have different types of cases. I work in a department where I had to take care of children that cross the border all by themselves, and I worked hard for 2 years, working overtime hours, and saved up for the future. Because deep down, I knew that my desire was to be in tech, so I wanted to somehow transition, get some type of certification or something like that. And this was actually a job that I really appreciated, but I knew I wanted to do something else. This was in 2017, right? Jay-Z dropped an album, 444, and that album inspired me a lot. Even though there's a lot of curse words in it, there's the N word in it, and the message that it brings and puts into perspective, you know, he puts into perspective that I am worthy, that I am equal, that I am like everybody else, and that we are all people at the end of the day. I saw Jay-Z, he has his own streaming platform, and from artist to artist, and I started thinking maybe I can achieve something, that I shouldn't look at the color of my skin. Like, I should just go for what I want. And then boom, I made it to Microsoft because I was just awesome. No, I'm kidding. It didn't happen that quick. But all in all, with that last slide from Jay-Z album, I just want to encourage people to find that inspiration. I find inspiration from music to believe in myself, believe that the color of my skin shouldn't limit me, and to believe in myself more. I encourage you guys to find something that will inspire you, whether it's music, arts, inspirational videos, which I actually watch as well, some Will Smith, or anything that makes you think differently, right? Because those negative thoughts always come around, especially when things are not going the way we planned. And yeah, definitely finding that inspiration is important. So continuing with the story, I finally saved up enough money, and I decided to try coding again. And this is when I found the Tech Academy. I moved from New York. With all the savings, I was able to move from New York to Portland, Oregon, and join the Tech Academy. I decided to try again because, it was something I always wanted to learn, but never really understood. And I wanted to challenge myself. I moved to Portland, Oregon, because I wanted to meet people, and I wanted to figure out if they figure out all the tech options on the West Coast. I did the software developer bootcamp package where you learn HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, JavaScript, SQL, C#, and Python. There, I learned and collaborated with other developers and live projects as well. Also, I met some amazing people. Tech Academy staff, Python Pirates, which was the meter group led by Chris, who he's here in this call actually. The students, I met students from other boot camps such as Epicodus. These friends shaped me into becoming the person that I am now, and I truly mean that. Around this time, I started finding myself again like I did in college. I started to grasp what it's really like to be in the tech industry. And once I finished the boot camp and I was ready to apply for jobs, I wanted to return to Ravature, the company that kicked me out. And so I could prove myself to them and others that I have what it takes to become a software engineer. Many staff and close friends at the Tech Academy advised me that I don't commit to a contract and convinced me to test the market first, even after I had already passed Ravature interview process and signed the contract and bought the tickets to Texas. There I realized, I started to really think about this because it was a really hard decision for me to make at that time. And I realized that I wasn't doing exactly what I went to the bootcamp for. I went to the bootcamp to break into the tech industry and to not necessarily have to prove myself to a specific company. So after that, I just squashed. I just cut the contract early, which I could do, and pretty much started networking and started looking for other jobs. And then I started networking heavily. While networking in LinkedIn, I started seeing a diverse population, getting hired at Microsoft. And there was a young woman who published a celebratory post and about her employment at Microsoft. I contacted her and said, congratulations with your new job at Microsoft. This is actually a dream job. It would be a pleasure to connect with you. And she responded, thanks, Nicson. Take a look at LEAP program. Great opportunity. And I said, will do. I had no idea what that was. I'm like, what is LEAP? What is she talking about? I Googled it and, I realized that it's a really cool program, and I started remembering about that, my inspirations into going into Microsoft, because at this point I had already forgotten like how interested I was about being like that one guy from the Bronx who was working at Microsoft. And that kind of like, I was like, wow, maybe this could happen. Like I'm actually even closer to making that possible. So I looked it up and I applied, because why not? If I'm going to test the market, I might as well apply to every company. I would love to work first. Since applying, I worked hours and hours on algorithms and whiteboarding with friends and that I met in Portland, focusing solely on the LEAP program, because I don't know, something told me that I needed to try my best. So I got the LEAP interview, and I was so nervous that I didn't do well on the algorithm section of the interview, and I knew I didn't have a chance. However, I decided to continue to aggressively apply to jobs just in case. And guess what? I did land a job. I got an offer as a release management engineer. Even though it wasn't my desired position, I took it because I was simply hungry to learn and to grow into the tech field. These were things I was working on: server side technologies, Linux, and deployments. Shortly after getting hired by IntegriTouch, I got a notification from Leap that I didn't get into the program. However, that I was invited again to another interview if I were still interested. And I forgot to mention that on the time that I applied twice because there were two cohorts coming up. So I applied one time for one cohort and another one for another. And that's why they said that. So I practiced problem solving and algorithms again, did the process again. And I thank my friends for practicing with me while trying this for the second time. I feel like the friends around you impact your life, and I advise to people that to go out and just meet people. And I know right now during COVID times that may prove to be a little difficult, but nothing stops you from going into meetups and finding out which virtual group meetings are out there where you can meet people. And literally, I get messages all the time on LinkedIn, and just people wanted to have conversations. And you can hop on LinkedIn and just start a conversation with somebody. Surrounding yourself with people with a similar interest is very important. So, sorry, I don't know where I'm on my notes. What else am I going to talk about? Okay, so not knowing I was going to get a call back from Leap, guess what? After I tried the second time, I did. I finally got the offer, and I did well in that interview after so much practice and all this stuff. And I was so happy. I could not believe that it was like a miracle come true. So what now? I was in serious exam, and I needed to make a decision. And I really liked that job, but Microsoft is a dream job for me. So I was like, I could not let that go, and I made the decision to take it. So let me go and talk more about the Microsoft Leap apprenticeship. So this apprenticeship goes along with Microsoft mission, which is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. In order to tackle this mission, we must recognize that we are not just talking about the US, we're talking about the entire world. The population of women in tech is very low. Microsoft, being one of the largest tech companies in the world, may want to serve a diverse population, which would mean they would need a diverse workforce. When I say diverse, I'm not talking about like which countries you come from. What I mean is, your background, whether you are a stay-at-home mom for 8 years but wanted to get back into tech, or a career switch, for example, being a teacher that wants to become an engineer, or back then the way hiring process went, or actually I can't even say back then, even now, if you didn't have the experience, they wouldn't even consider you. They wouldn't look at anything in your application. The ones that got hired are the ones that have been doing this for a long time. But now programs like Leap Apprenticeship bring people from different perspectives than a typical software developer. And I think it's affecting the model in which companies are recruiting. Many leapers have achieved a lot from where they started to where they are now. they have been able to become senior developers, technical managers, and many other positions that otherwise they wouldn't have been able to without LEAP apprenticeship program. And that's another thing to remind us, is that it doesn't matter if you're making a career switch. You can always achieve as long as you put all your effort. And that's why the LEAP apprenticeship program is a very successful program. People are actually landing these jobs and actually carrying out the weight of accomplishing the everyday task at Microsoft. Now I'm going to talk about, so here is the team that I work with. This is the team that I was also working with during the apprenticeship program. This is actually the IC3 records distribution team. And they work with Microsoft Teams calls, Skype for Business calls, and technically we look at the pipelines and the different servers that generate metadata for a specific call conference. And that way we were able to like troubleshoot and things like that. During COVID-19, when COVID-19 started, the usage went really high and they were really busy all the time. However, I still had a really great experience during the apprentice. Here are some of that's my manager on the right side, and there are other team members there. So this is an old slide. It says what I do at Microsoft, what I did at Microsoft. This is what I did in doing the LEAP apprenticeship. I created a program which you get to search the call ID of a specific ID of a specific call, and then you're able to retrieve a huge JSON file that gives all the metadata about the call. Metadata as in like call quality, the length of it, and audio quality, and many other things. And I also had to work closely with the scrubbing data in the management API and many different things. I also learned React. Yep, just wanted to show you guys a small diagram of what I was working on, the type of experience you would get at the LEAP apprenticeship program. In conclusion, don't let anything stand in your way. There are a lot of things that are going to happen in your life, a lot of setbacks, and the key is to remain positive. As you guys saw, I accomplished many things, different dance competitions, the first robotics, and then going to the boot camp. And then despite internally feeling like I'm not able to accomplish these things, I remain positive and just move forward. So definitely don't let anything stand in your way. Find inspiration. For me, it was a Jay-Z album. For you, it might be something else. Look for inspiration. If you look for it, I guarantee that you will find it. Believe in yourself. Truly believe in yourself if you don't. Right? Whenever you are at that interview, and that interview can tell, the interviewer can tell that you don't believe in yourself. Therefore, if the interviewer can tell that you don't believe in yourself, why should they believe in you? That's kind of the type of question that I ask myself there. And this is really important. This reminds me of the time when I did the LEAP interview for the second time. I was so relaxed because I already had a job. Everything was good. So I had nothing to lose. I had already proved to myself that I was good enough to be in the tech industry. So maybe the interviewer could see that I had confidence. And probably that could be a reason why I got into Leap. I'm just a regular person, but I took the steps, and I encourage you to do the same because you can. Friends can help shape your future. I feel like this is the reason why I got better, because I've supported friends. I couldn't thank them enough. And last but not least, learn from your mistakes. I used my past experiences to my advantage. Coming out of the tech academy, I started to remember the 7 months that I didn't land any jobs, and I started canceling everything that I shouldn't do at an interview, and that literally helped me immensely with the latest interviews I got. So 99% of those failures are, you know what? I like to tell people this. You're going to fail 99% of the time, but that is so worth it, because that 1% that's left is the time that you will pass, and you will achieve everything that you want. So it's worth it. I look at mistakes as an opportunity to learn something. And the other thing I like to tell people too is that failure and success are just two sides of the very same coin. You keep flipping the coin enough times, and then eventually you will hit success. So here are some resources. I'll probably post them on the chat in a little bit. Free Bootcamp, Python Pirates. They have many resources there. And also the third one is a website that actually one of the Leap apprenticeship on my cohort, somebody from my cohort created this website, and she posted a lot of tips, because she's a self-taught engineer and she also got into Leap. So she has a lot of experience of how to get into the tech industry without a CS degree and without a boot camp. And now she's working at Microsoft full time. So definitely the resources out there, and just know that it is possible, and it requires time and patience. Any questions?
Hey, Nicson, I have a question for you.
Yes.
When you transitioned from your position at Integra Touch to Microsoft, what was, I know you were going into an apprenticeship, but what was kind of the major differences that you saw between the companies, and, what was difficult between that, going into those different companies?
Wait, can you repeat that again? Like,
Sure.
What was the...
Yeah, what were some differences? Like, was it difficult to transition from that one company to Microsoft? Or what were some challenges that you met with in that transition?
Okay, so in the first job, they didn't use any like cloud services, like most companies. Actually, I can't even say most companies. A lot of companies use cloud services like Azure or AWS, but many companies still run their they still run their applications and their stuff on premises. So I guess it was a very huge transition. I was mostly just writing commands and just I think I was dealing with what's it called? Geez, I haven't done this. I was just dealing with containers and doing those type of commands, and Yeah, it was a huge. It's also a very completely different position from software engineer. So I had to kind of like shift gears there and watch a lot of tutorials, go back and review all the stuff that I learned from the Tech Academy, and sort of just getting familiarized with everything about Microsoft and Azure and all of these things. Yep. And I guess the Leap apprenticeship makes it easier as well because they introduced all of this stuff to us for 3 weeks before we jump into our team.
So with the Integra, did you feel like you were just kind of thrown into it, whereas with Microsoft they kind of eased you in through the apprenticeship?
Correct. That is true.
Mm-hmm.
I do have to say that Microsoft does have a very good, how do you say this? Onboarding system. Yes, they have a really good onboarding system, and I could tell that my other job didn't. I kind of just had to like ask people, okay, what do I have to do? Or I was pretty much creating my own onboarding as we went, but I still enjoyed the job. I just think maybe the bigger companies have more years on this kind of thing, and yeah, it's only to be expected.
Would that be a good question to ask in an interview? Is what is your onboarding process?
Yes, that would definitely be a good question at an interview. I agree.
Anyone else have any questions? I have tons, but I want to make sure I give other people opportunity.
Well, Nicson, I did have a question. So the LEAP program, it's a 16-week cohort, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you've gone through that and you graduated. Are you currently in the LEAP program, or have you moved on?
I've moved on. In July 20th was my first day as a full-time employee, at Microsoft. And so that's a contract, right? Once it finishes, then the team that you were working with figures out if they have headcount. And what that means is like the budget to onboard you. And if they do, then you go through the interview, the regular interview process for Microsoft. And so I had to go through that, and that's actually a full day interview process. It's 4 interviews. 2 of them are algorithms. One of them is system design, and the other one is, hold on, I don't fully remember right now, but it was a long day.
Yeah, it's how it goes with the big companies.
Yep. They want to know what you know about design, and they want to know how you explain something. They want to know how you solve problems. So there's many different things to just be on top of when going for the bigger companies.
Well, it had to be a great feeling when you became a full-time employee after LEAP.
Absolutely. I still couldn't believe that I was there. That I don't know. The entire time, even when I was asleep, I feel like my dream. When I was in LEAP and the contract had ended and I wasn't 100% sure that I was going to be working with Microsoft, I feel like I had already reached my dream. Like my dream was to work at Microsoft, and I don't care how long, regardless of what that experience was. I knew that, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to code. If things didn't go right, it didn't go as expected, at least I would have got out of there with a lot of experience under my belt, and I was going to get into some other company. But thankfully, things went as I wanted, and now I'm here working in my dream job, and it's just an amazing feeling. Almost every day, just waking up and just like, wow, I'm here. Wow, it's cool.
That's awesome.
Well, it was a pleasure to be your first contact when you were deciding to come out and pursue your dream here on the West Coast.
Yes. Absolutely. I mean, I still remember that time, when I was just calling, and yeah, I feel like that was a low point in my life. The job was awesome, but I just didn't want to do that. And that was kind of like the transition. And you were one of the first, technically, I would say one of the first conversations I had in terms of starting that transition. So definitely memorable. And
definitely glad to help you get started. That's awesome.
Thank you.
It looks like Lynn has her hand raised. Lynn, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Yeah, hi, Nicson. Nicson, so glad you're here in the United States and you have such a great job with Microsoft. I don't know if is it all right to ask what you think of what's going on politically right now? And I don't want to ask you where you stand, but do you think the United States is a good place to work? And just any comment you want to make about the United States and other countries.
That's a very, very good question. You know what? I think that we're heading towards a good direction when it comes to things like that. And I actually tested my teams, because let's not ignore things that are happening in real world, right? Like while we are going through all this tech stuff, right? There's other things that are happening. And when during the whole George Floyd thing was happening, I was in the Leap Apprenticeship program, and I wanted to make sure that I worked at a company that values me and who I am. And I asked my entire team, okay, I know what you guys have seen on TV or on the news outlet, and that's actually affecting me during work. And I would like to chat with anybody who would like to chat about this openly. I kind of like opened that discussion for my team, and I was actually really scared, because at that point I wasn't hired. I hadn't been hired at Microsoft yet, so that was kind of like a risky question to ask. But people took, their response really told me, like, okay, what is Microsoft culture, and that they really care about people. Empathy is a big thing here. And yeah, it was an amazing response. My manager, actually, we scheduled a virtual bonfire talk, per se. And we talked, I was able to just talk about my experiences in the past regarding racism and all this stuff, and how we want things to go along. So yeah, I think United States is as bad as history has been, is going into the right direction, and that's what we all want.
Thanks so much. I appreciate hearing that, and I think an awful lot of Microsoft, and I'm really glad that you're there, Nicson.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for your question, Lynn. I really appreciate that. Thanks, and I really admire your vulnerability to throw that question out in that space. And to me, it seems like it really opened up a space of psychological safety for your team, and also a space for education and sharing and communication. That's really admirable.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to add is, like, when a company stands like behind their employees, that's like, you can tell, and it's beautiful. And Microsoft is a great example of that. Yes, just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions for Nicson? Just want to make sure I give everyone an opportunity. We do have a few more minutes here before we close.
Yes, I
Oh, Lynn, I
can.
see that you have another question. Go ahead, Lynn.
Oh, I didn't really have another question, but I guess I could ask about the work on the coronavirus and to what extent is IT and computer technology involved in developing a response, if you know. Thanks.
So as soon as I hear that question, the first thing that popped in my mind was what was essential during COVID-19, and a lot of things were essential, right? Like people who travel with food, or people who deliver packages. But so was the tech industry themselves. That was essential as well, because all of a sudden people could not uh, go to their offices. So how are they going to work, right? And that's when technology came in, and all of a sudden, thousands and thousands of people are online all at once, and that wasn't predicted. And normally, when it comes to like servers and making requests for specific websites or anything that you're doing online, doors are already scaled to a specific number per se. And when COVID started, it just surpassed that number, and then everybody needed to work and to scale up all of the servers and all that stuff. So when I started, yeah, everybody in my team was just really, really busy. It was hard for me to get them to help me at times. But yeah, to answer your question, it was critical for, the IT industry was critical for the COVID-19 responses.
Well, I thought so. I thought so, Nixon. And thanks for explaining that in detail. I appreciate it a lot. Thanks.
Yeah, and feel free to ask me any questions on like how to get into the tech industry, or in the position that I am in. What is your best tips? Things like that. I get asked these questions all the time, so I think I'm prepared to have my opinion on what's the next step that you should take.
We are at time, so we don't have time for more questions. And I want to be considerate of your time, Nixon, because we just so appreciate you being here, and we want to have you back again another time. But what would be the best way for our participants to read questions that you've already posted online, or answers to, or connect with you?
I'm going to post links on the chat.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that.
That has resources, and also you can find me in LinkedIn. Let me go ahead and share a link there, and ask me questions there.
Thank you. I really appreciate that opportunity to connect with you in that space. Well, I can't express my gratitude enough. I've learned so much, and mostly what I really appreciated from learning from you is how you really look outward and how you could help the people around you. And it seems like in that way, you've also received a lot of help along the way. And I love that idea. And I heard a great quote that my Forrest shared with me, that when one succeeds, we all succeed. And so I really appreciate you exemplifying that for us, Nixon. All right, we will go ahead and close this meeting. Just want to remind you, next week we have question and answer with Forrest. That's January 22nd, Friday at 1 o'clock. So I hope to see you all there next Friday. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Nixon. Great story.
So much.
We appreciate
Fantastic
it.
story.
Really
Thank
good to
you
see
so much.
you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Nixon. You have a great career going for you. All right, see ya.
Thank you, Lynn. See ya.
See ya.
Rick, are we still recording?